All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am BrianLeeDurfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown. All three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Cry for the Strangers by John Saul. This is a horror novel, came out in 1979, and now I am reviewing all of the John Saul horror novels in order of their publication. So this is the third, I believe, John Saul book I've read. I've got the entire John Saul collection of horror novels over here, my vast library of 5,000 some odd books. There's my John Saul collection. I think there's about 30 books there I've got, and we're only to book 3 or 4 maybe, I can't remember. Anyway, let's talk about this one. Came out in 1979. Let's review the cover first, because you always know on my channel I love graphic design and book illustration, so we always review the cover designs first. And I gotta tell you, this might be one of the... So this one's kind of like one of those yikes, ye gads, what the fuck is going on covers. It's got a nice blue tone to it, and the font is adequate, but the illustration, I don't know if I'm that thrilled with it. Although it does give you the sort of cheap horror novel from the 1970s illustration vibe. So I guess that's got one thing going for it. So anyway, cover kind of gets a from me, but the book itself, let's go into it. So the prologue starts right off with a smash bang awesome prologue. This nameless young boy walks out. He's wandering on the beach late at night, and this takes place in, I guess, Washington State along the coast. So so he's walking along the beach, and in the middle of the night, and he stumbles upon this ritual, like this Illuminati, satanic, paganistic ritual of witchcraft and wizardry, where there's people dancing along on the beach. They're dancing naked on the beach, and there's 2 people buried in the sand that they're dancing around, and the people buried in the sand only have their heads above the sand. And of course he watches this happen, and then he knows that the tide is going to come up and kill these people, so he freaks out and he runs off. Sure enough, when he checks on it the next day, the people's heads are still there, but they're dead as can be. And then we jump to the present day. So then the present day being 1979. When the kid is older, I guess. Or maybe I don't know if we jump in time or not. That's one of the things. Did we jump? Anyway, that's the prologue. Whether it happened, no, I think the kid is still a kid, so there's no jump in time. The prologue happens, and then we jump to a different scene in chapter 1 with where things start to happen. So this place is called Clark's Harbor. It's sort of like, and it's an idyllic place and a lovely town. And people are just discovering how lovely it is, and they want to move there. And so a lot of new people are moving into this place. But it's kind of like the people that already live there are sort of jealously guarding what they've got, and they don't want new people. And so we've got a problem. So Clark's Harbor is this perfect coastal haven, jealously guarded against outsiders, but strangers want to live there. And there's a lot of strangers that want to live there. And one by one, the new people that are moving in start to die in crazy ways, like more bizarre ways after the next. And it turns out, it's kind of like, as we get into the story, it seems like maybe a bargain has been struck by the people of Clark's Harbor. Like the citizens of Clark Harbor have struck this bargain with the ocean itself. Like the sea itself is like this supernatural force calling out for human sacrifice. And that's kind of ties us back into the prologue with the little boy watching the weird thing going on and the people being sacrificed to the sea. So we've got this town, a small town full of quirky characters. It's very reminiscent of how Stephen King does his little small town books, which makes sense because Stephen King was writing small town horror back in 1979 when this book came out. So I think when you read a lot of these old 1970s, 1980 horror books, they do all kind of have the same feel of small town, quirky characters, young people, coming of age tales, and everything just going ass over teapot in this town real quick. And this is what happens here. We have a young boy who's he's free from his haunted past. His sister is plagued by evil visions. One of our main characters. One of the things about this book that was a little off-putting was the amount of characters we're introduced to in such a short novel. I mean, this book is, well, I mean, you can't say short. It's 400 pages, but compared to It by Stephen King, it's short. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of characters to keep track of in this book, which kind of makes it cool because that way we know the town and its personality and the people. But one of the main characters is Brad Randall and his wife Elaine. They are some of the newcomers that have decided to leave Seattle and find a nice little small town to live in. So they're newcomers, and they kind of have to understand that this place isn't as friendly. It might be beautiful, but it's not that friendly. Their neighbors are pretty friendly to them, but their neighbors also have these quirky kids, which I just described. The policeman is certainly a douchebag. The deputy seems to be a little bit nicer of a guy. But all these characters that are moving in, that are getting killed off one by one in mysterious ways, that's kind of the basis and plot of the whole thing. Will Brad and his wife Elaine and their kids survive this haunted new town that they've moved into? Well, we shall see. We shall see. I'm not going to give away the ending. Cry for the Strangers. I mean, that's basically the title is, hey, these strangers are in our town and we don't want them here. And anyway, I give this I would say I enjoyed the previous two John Saul books a little bit more than this one. I would give this about a 7 out of 10. It was pretty good, pretty entertaining. I did enjoy reading it. It's got some, if you like satanic rituals on the beach, this would be your jam. So anyway, there's that.